Hey yogis, welcome to Limitless Yoga Studio. My name is Kelsey and this is Watson. Today for your online class, we are going to be working on both strengthening and lengthening the hips, both inner and outer. We always want to work for that balance between the two. It's great to have flexibility, but you got to have the strength to back it up. So we're going to go ahead and focus on both today. For props, you're going to need at least one block, but two would be ideal. And then a foam roller would be ideal, but if you don't have a foam roller, I'm just going to show you a stretch to hold on to while we do the release. So go ahead and gather up your props, throw in your favorite playlist, tell the corgi to get out of the way. Come on, buddy. And then lay on back in what we call Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're going to start with a hip stretch to open. We're going to put the soles of the feet together, knees out wide to make a diamond shape. And then if your hips are a little bit grumpy, you can use your blocks underneath your thigh bones in order to give you some support. And then once you have your diamond shape of the legs, we're going to roll on back. You do want to have a block relatively close to you, even if you're not using them underneath your hips, because we are going to grab one here in just a second after our breath work. So once you roll on back, come here, buddy. Okay, all right. Apparently Watson's going to help. Thank you. Oh. Lay on back. Dude. Okay. Apparently he's feeling quite clingy today. All right, lay down, buddy. Lay down. All right. You're going to close down the eyes. And then see if you can dial that awareness up to 10 as you take it down the body one cycle of breath at a time. We not only want to notice the weight of the shoulders, but also the weight of the thigh bones. So take a moment, relax the muscles of the face, becoming this blank slate so you're not spending any extra energy. Relax the jaw, drop the tongue from the roof of the mouth. As the back of the neck gets a little longer and as the shoulders get a little heavier, you're going to take that same amount of awareness and relaxation down the rest of the spine, maybe landing in a little bit more of a grounded spine and back area. Then take a moment to notice the hips, especially if the right feels any different from the left. We want to take that information in, store it, and use it at the end of class when we compare. Just a few more cycles of breath. Let's go ahead and deepen the inhales, filling up the belly, the ribs, and the chest, utilizing all that space that we have in the torso. And then exhale, slow and controlled, squeezing out that old air so you've got plenty of room for the next cycle. Each inhale gently flowing in the breath that you need, and each exhale gently flowing out the breath that you no longer need. Keep the breath easeful rather than effortful. We don't want to stress the body trying to increase this breath. We want the breath to support us. So take 2 more cycles of breath, just easing into that full inhale and that full exhale. And after this very last cycle of breath, we're going to do our best to keep that kind of breath work throughout class. We'll flutter open the eyes. Go ahead and get rid of any blocks that you're using. Set them to the side. And then bring the knees together, meet me in a full body stretch. Reach to the fingers, reach to the toes. Now what we want to do is strengthen the muscles that we just stretched. So go ahead and bend the knees, plant the feet, take a block, place it between the thigh bones. So that muscle on the inner thighs that we just stretched, we're not going to strengthen. So squeeze the block together as hard as you possibly can. And as you do this, you might feel the low belly firm up, and that's perfect. That's what we want. So imagine the hip points kind of moving to the ribs a millimeter, the tailbone lengthening a millimeter. Keep squeezing. You can choose to stay here and just continue to squeeze, or I'm going to lift and lower that block. So now I'm adding a little bit more of that low core work, the idea of the space between the hip points really engaging and kind of belting us down to the floor. At no point do I want to lift or arch my back up off of the mat. So as you continue to tap, as you continue to squeeze, feel that fire and that heat being built on the inseam of the pants area, but as well as across that hip point area, or that low core to support our low back. We're here for 3 more rounds, for 3, for 2, and then last one. All right, go ahead and set the feet down and release the block to the side. We're going to need him in a second. Now, outer hips, bring the right knee in. Left hand is going to grab that right ankle and then pull the footprint over to the left side of your mat. we want to focus on getting that really nice big stretch on that big area of the outer right hip. So feel free to play with the angles if necessary to find the really best stretch for you. Take a big breath here and then memorize that area because we're going to strengthen that area in just a moment. Okay, bring that leg back down, switch it out. Left knee comes in, right hand grabs the ankle. Go ahead and pull the toes on across, footprint towards, for me, it's that blue wall. And then adjust the angle of the knee and legs so that you can feel this really nice big strap of muscle here and get a really good stretch. I really enjoy this pose for the outer hips. Take one more big breath here. And then slowly release. All right, so again, we're going to focus on strengthening what we just stretched out. So I'm going to take my right hand up overhead and roll it to my right side. I'm going to bend the knees and then stack them evenly. I'm going to take my left hand to the low back, and I want to make sure that I'm even across the low back. The tendency is going to be for one cheek to kind of overhang the other cheek. I don't want that. So with my ankles tied together, I'm going to lift that top leg and then slowly place it down. So you might have seen these done before. These are called clamshells, but the tendency here is to, as you lift the knee higher and higher, the cheeks become uneven. All of a sudden, it becomes more work here in the glute max. We want this guy right here on the side. So as you lift and as you lower, we're looking for fire. We're looking for heat right here on the tippy top, kind of where you'd put your hand in your side pockets. And honestly, the slower, the better. Sometimes when you go real fast, you're just going to incorporate more muscles than we really want to. So take about 3 more, hopefully finding it right there. I've got an obscene amount of corgi hair on me right now. 3, 2, and last one. All right, bring it on back. Once you're on your back, we're going to sweep over to the other side. So left hand up overhead. Feel free to rest your head in your hand and then stack up the legs, hand on that tailbone area. So as you lift and as you lower, you just want to be very aware that we do have the tendency to kind of recruit other bigger muscles rather than focus on the one that we want. So rather than kind of lifting that leg really high and spilling the booty over to the mat behind us, we want to keep that stack. Sometimes it's helpful to go up against a wall so that both cheeks and both shoulder blades are against that wall. Footprints are against the wall. I'm starting to feel it right here, up and down. And then if it is helpful, if you really are sure that you're keeping it even back here, taking that hand forward so that we're rolling more of our weight forward rather than back can be helpful. Okay, we're here for just a few more. Again, trying to feel it right there, top of the thigh. It's not going to be as big of a movement as you think. For 3, for 2, and last 1. All right, go ahead and bring it all back. Last thing is happy baby to put it all together. Bring the knees in, hands to the ankles or the pinky toe sides of the feet. So now we're stretching out the inner hips, more of that inseam of the pants area. Take a big breath. All right, place those feet down, and now we're going to put the strengtheners all together. So grab that block, place it between your thigh bones. So we want that constant squeeze as we add in that clamshell lift. With the right hand up overhead, I'm going to roll on over. I'm going to keep the squeeze as I lift and as I lower. So my hand is going to go in front of me for support. I'm going to lift, and I'm going to lower. I'm going to lift, I'm going to lower. I'm going to feel it here, but I'm also going to feel it in the inner thigh area. For 3, for 2, and last 1. All right, bring it all the way back over and across. Left hand up overhead, rolling over, hand in the head. Get that squeeze going. All right, so hand in front for support, squeeze, and lift. So now this upper hip is lifting me towards the ceiling, but I'm going to keep squeezing together. Okay, we got another 3, we got another 2, and last 1. All right, go ahead and bring it on back. We'll get rid of that block for now. Bring the knees in the chest, a little squeeze, and then rock and roll yourself all the way up to a seated position. Once you're here, relax the chest. Go ahead and give me a nice big neck roll in each direction. Get out the pops and the creaks. You're welcome to take more if you need it. All right, and then for our seated stretch and strengthener, we're going to take our feet together. So this is very similar to what we did at the very beginning of class. Feet together, knees out wide. We want the heels close enough to offer a stretch, but not so close that we strain the knees. So once you find what you want, go ahead and open the feet up like a book and allow those thigh bones to drop. Now take a second to recognize where they are in space, maybe whether it's a sensation of the intensity of the stretch or whether you're actually measuring how close the knees are to the floor. Take a second, take that measurement, and then we're going to see if we can influence with a strengthener. Okay, take a big breath here. Find your max stretch. And then what I'm going to do is use my right hand as a kickstand. My left hand's going to go on my thigh bone, not my knee, but my thigh bone right in the middle, okay? I want to fight myself here. I'm going to push down just as hard as I'm drawing up, so it's resisted range of motion. I'm going to press the thigh bone down as I lift, and honestly, if you're looking at it, it doesn't look like you're moving to anyone else, but my leg is kind of shaking with the effort here. So I'm pushing down just as hard as I'm lifting up. I'm finding a lot of work there on those adductor muscles, which is that inseam of the pants area. I'm going to hold here for just a few more seconds, and then I want you to see how that influenced the stretching aspect of that leg. We're here for another 3, for another 2, last one, let it go. All right, go ahead and go back down into your stretch, and maybe you can see on mine, but this knee is definitely lower than this knee. This leg feels very, very released from that. We call P&F stretching, okay? So next side, I'm gonna use the left hand as a kickstand, right hand on the middle of the thigh bone, and then I'm gonna press down and lift. So I'm not trying to overpower myself here. I'm just trying to find equal forces down and up at the same time. So nothing here should be painful at all. It's all gonna be productive. At the end of the day, you're probably going to find a little bit of shaking in the leg, maybe a little bit of shaking in the shoulder as you press down. We're here for just a few more moments here. And then again, once we release, we want to immediately compare the sides and see what this did to the tissues. A lot of times doing this kind of stretching is kind of a little neurological reset for the area, and it realizes that it can actually stretch maybe a little bit more than it did before. We're here 2, 1, and then release, immediately come back in that stretch and see if you can notice the difference in that range of motion. All right, from here, go ahead and bring the knees up, sweeping back behind you. I'll meet you on hands and knees. We're gonna meet in tabletop position, so the shoulders will be stacked on top of the wrists, the hips will be stacked on top of the knees. Couple cat-cows. I want you to inhale to drop the ribs, and then exhale to push into the palms, arch, and tuck the tailbone to the nose. Now I want you to see if you can match your breath with the movement so that you finish the breath right at the bottom of your cow pose, and then you complete the breath right as you get at the tippy top of your cat pose. So this might slow you down a bit, which is completely fine, but we're trying to give ourselves plenty of time to breathe and plenty of time to actually feel each and every vertebrae. We don't want to just move up and down. We actually want to flow through each and every piece of our spine. So making sure that every link in the chain is getting the movement necessary to keep it healthy. Okay? We got one more up and down. And then we're going to come together with a neutral spine and a firm belly. Sticking your right foot back behind you as a kickstand, we're going to extend our left hand forward. Okay, so this left hip is actually what we're focusing on. He's wrapping up underneath us in order to compensate for the fact that I don't have that right leg down. So if you'd like a little bit more, you can lift the right leg up, continue to wrap that left hip underneath you. Choose to stay here, or if you want to add more, that left hand is going to tap that right shoulder, and then I'm going to switch. Right hand taps the left shoulder. Now, as I switch back and forth, this guy has to work double time in order to keep my hips completely stable and that level low back. What we don't want to do is kind of swing and sway around as we're doing this. So if that happens, just put that foot back down on the floor, or maybe just simply hold that bird dog position. Okay, we're here for just a few more taps. Keep the belly firm. Keep that activation of the left hip wrapping up underneath you. He should be talking to you right now, getting nice and warm. Last one is here. And then place the knees back down. All right, immediately slide over into the left hip. You're going to feel a really nice stretch in the area that you just worked. Feel free to adjust the angle. Sometimes kind of sitting back will give you a different or better stretch. Take a big breath here. And then bring yourself back to center. All right, second side, left foot goes back, right hand goes forward. Now you're welcome to stay here. Wrap that right hip underneath you and just hold here. Maybe you want to lift that back leg, keeping the belly firm, hold here. Or maybe you're going to tap right hand to left shoulder and then left hand to right shoulder. Now I definitely notice that when I do it on this side, I have to really focus hard on that right hip wrapping up underneath me. So there's going to be one side that's a bit more difficult than the other. That's normal. But just if you be honest with yourself, and if you're kind of swimming around here, just ground down through that back foot, or maybe just come back to bird dog, because it's better to have productive movements rather than just movement, period. All right, we're here 3, we're here 2, and then last 1. All right, knees come down, slide your hips over into the right, maybe kind of play with sitting back a little bit, find what works best for you. Take a big breath. And then back to center. All right, now for the inner hips, we're going to take that block that we used, place it between the thigh bones, and then have the toes curled under here. Okay? All right, so I want to squeeze the heck out of that block. I'm going to immediately feel the muscles engage on the inner thighs. Okay? So you can choose just to sit here and squeeze, or maybe even pulse to squeeze, or I'm going to add a lift. I'm going to squeeze, Press into my palms to find a cat back and lift the knees up off the floor. And I'm just going to gently tap the knees down. I'm going to squeeze the heck out of that block. So now I'm feeling, again, the space between the hip points, that low core that we talked about, as well as squeezing those thigh bones together. We're here, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to let that block drop, right foot to right pinky finger. I'm going to lunge forward and hold, choosing either to stay here for the inner thigh stretch or maybe curling the back toes and lifting the back knee. Take a big breath here, getting low in the hips, but not sagging and compromising in the shoulders. Okay, dropping the back knee, I'm going to sweep it all on back. Grab that block for one more round. This time, I'm going to actually place it on the medium setting. So this could possibly give you some different feedback. So if it's not comfortable, just go back to the skinniest setting. Curl my toes. I'm going to squeeze and then lift. So for me, this feels a little bit more difficult. I have to work just a little bit harder to squeeze and lift. So make sure you're pushing into the palms, doming the upper back as if you're in cat pose. For 3, for 2, and last 1. Place it down and get rid of that block entirely. We're going to take the left foot to the left pinky finger, lunge forward. Take your time finding the stretch in the inner hips. If you want to curl the back toes, lift the back knee and push to the back heel, go ahead. And remember, dropping the hips does not mean that you have to also drop into the shoulders. Take a big breath. And then with that back knee down, we're going to sweep back into hands and knees. All right, we're ready for plank. So magnetize those thumbs towards one another. Shore up those shoulder heads before you step back into plank. Feet hip distance apart. Pressing the hips high and relaxing the chin to the chest. Take a moment to make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Feel free to walk out the calves. Maybe sway the hips. Take a big breath. All right, looking forward, stepping forward. I'll see you at the top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, I'm going to change up my blocks. I'm going to place them up at the top of the mat so they are shoulder distance apart, ready to go. I'm also going to move this foam roller to the back of my mat. I won't need him until the very end of class, so I'm just going to put him here so that you guys can see everything, including a corgi. Hi, buddy. Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. Top of the mat, feet hip distance apart. We're going to go into sun A's. Apparently Watson has gotten bored and seems to want an early Shavasana. Okay, feet hip distance apart here. Pressure through all 4 corners of the feet, stacking the ears on the shoulders, on the hips, on the ankles. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Hips on heels. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, step your right foot back. Pause. Drop down to that right hip flexor. You can keep it dynamic or drop the back knee if you need to. We're here, 3, 2, 1. We're going to slide back into plank. Feel free to drop the knees first as you lower to the belly. Okay, lifting the belly button up off the mat. Take your 3 cobras, really rolling the shoulder heads up and back so that you're peeling yourself up off the mat while maintaining a long neck. Okay. The right arm's going to shoot forward like a karate chop. I'm going to roll it on over. And then my left foot is going to step up, over, and across. So it definitely looks like you're ready for a photo shoot. Okay. Now, if you watch my base leg, my right leg, I'm going to turn the entirety of the thing so the toes point up. I'm going to start to move up and down. Now, if I just kind of kick and flail, I'm not really going to feel this. But if I slow it down and really squeeze my inner thighs together as hard as I can, just like I did that block earlier, you're going to really feel the whole of the entirety of the inner leg from the groin area even down towards the inner calf start to light up. Focus on turning the entirety of the leg so the toes are pointed up to the ceiling, and then focus on your range of motion for another 3, for another 2, and last 1. All right, straighten out the legs, bring it all on back. Hands to the rib cage. Feel free to use your knees if you need to come back up into plank. Press back into down dog. Take the right toes up into the sky. Drop the heel to the tush and open up. Reach to open up the hips. Make sure you maintain those strong, stable shoulders. All right, from here, I'm going to look forward. I'm going to step forward, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, forward, fold. Inhale, rise up, get tall. Exhale, right back down for our last sun A to even everything out. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, left foot steps back. Pause here, drop down into your hip flexors. Dynamic or static, your choice. Maybe dropping the knee for 3, 2, and 1. Slide back into plank, rock to the tiptoes, maybe using the knees, go down to the belly. 3 more cobras. Maybe you want to take the hands out of the equation this time. Firm up that midsection, and then as you lift, try not to over squeeze the buns. The tendency is to really squeeze to lift, and sometimes that can compress the low back area. Take 1 more. and then you're done. Left arm comes forward like a karate chop, roll on over and set up your position. Right foot up, over and across just for support, okay? I'm going to dial the whole left leg up, toes pointed up, and then work those inner thigh muscles. Okay, and those inner thigh muscles have a connection into the pelvis, which can very much influence the low back. Sometimes you don't think about leg muscles influencing the low back, but these guys definitely do, just as much as those outer hip muscles that we're working for stability. We're here squeezing the inner thighs together, turning the toes towards the sky for 3, for 2, last 1. All right, roll it all the way back over, hands to the rib cage, find your plank, find your down dog, lengthen. Left toes up in the sky, heel to tush. As I open up the hip, I really want to open up that left armpit, so resist that, keep the shoulders squared off, and then go ahead and walk yourself up to the top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, we're ready for sun bees. So if you have a vinyasa in your practice, feel free to throw it in there wherever you need. Or you can just stick with me and I'm going to modify my rounds. All right, here we go. Feet hip distance apart. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, have a seat down in your chair. From your chair, you're going to step your right knee up, out, and then land in Malasana. Big froggy squat here. Then bring it all the way back, chair pose. Second side, left knee's going to take a big step up, out, and across. Good. And then bring it right back into chair. We got 2 more. Up, out, and over. And then bring it all the way back in, 10 toes pointing in the same direction. Then I step my left foot out, big froggy squat. Bring it right back in. Nice. Take an inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, your vinyasa, or just step back into down dog with me. Pressure through the thumb and index. So you've got no gaps underneath your palms. Inhale, right toes up in the sky. Let's try that heel to tush to open up the hips without opening up the armpit. And then kick that foot all the way to the top of the mat. Okay? Now pause here. I'm going to drag one block back to my big toe. And I'm going to keep one block there. And I'll explain that in a second. Spin your back heel down. Rise up, warrior 2. Now really take a minute to settle into warrior 2, because no matter how advanced you are, you should still feel a stretch there in that inner thigh. So feel free to widen up your base. Feel free to drop your hips. Just make sure your knee's going through the middle of your foot, not crossing your ankle. All right, we got a big breath here in our warrior 2. Okay, so right now we're stretching this inner thigh area, and we're really wrapping that outer right hip, or strengthening that outer right hip. We're going to strengthen him more, okay? Either right forearm to thigh bone, or what's really nice is the hand to the block here, or hand to the floor if you'd like, okay? So I want to really take all the weight in my right outer hip. As I look forward, step forward, and tap my big toe to my right heel, okay? Top hand doesn't matter. You can get him out of the way if you need. So take a couple of these taps and notice how hard you have to work that outer right hip, wrapping up underneath you in order to do this. So maybe your forearm is on your thigh bone. No big deal. Maybe your hand is on the floor. Great. All those work. All right. Last one here. Your right outer hip should really be talking to you right about now. All right. Pause. Come back up into warrior 2. Take a big inhale. We're going to put this together for half moon. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. Find your side angle, whether it's forearm or fingertips to floor. Wrap that outer right hip under. Ready? Step up. Now reach out the legs into half moon. That right hand is going to anchor onto that block. We got 5 toes pointing forward. Right hip wrapped up underneath you ferociously. And then reach to the fingers. Kick through that back heel. Take a big inhale and hold. And then exhale. Hands come down. Toes come down. Ha. All right, I'm going to get rid of that block. Slide back into down dog. You're always welcome to vinyasa between sides if you want. Let's do the same thing on the second side. Inhale, left toes up. Heel to tush to open the hips, but not open the shoulders. And then exhale, kick it all the way through. I'm going to immediately grab a block and set it next to my big toe. Okay, here we go. Spin the back heel down. Find your warrior 2. Settle into it, making sure that you're not standing up too high, but really sinking down into it, feeling the benefits of that hip opener. Shoulders on top of hips here, pressing through that back heel. Take an inhale. Exhale, find your side angle, whether it's forearm, block, or fingertips. Look forward. Focus on this outer left hip wrapping up underneath you. We're going to slowly bring up, tap with control, and then bring it down. So the first time you do it, it might be kind of a quick step until you figure out that control of the outer hip, and then we can slow it down. And honestly, the slower you go, the more intense it is, the more that left hip has to work. So feel free to bring it in, take it out, maybe even count 1, 2, 3, tap, 1, 2, 3, and down. All right, last one here. Press through your heels. Rise up, find your warrior two. Big inhale. Here we go. Exhale, side angle, find it. Now look forward. Think about your half moon. Take that step up and then punch through your heels. Explode through the legs to find your half moon pose. Eventually the left obliques are going to squeeze you up to get a little lighter through the fingertips. One more big breath here. And then hands down, toes down. We get rid of those blocks and slide back into down dog. All right, lengthen it all the way out. Look forward, bend the knees, step or hop, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins, and exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, rise up, and exhale, hands to heart center. All right, next round, we're going to be adding a little bit onto that Malasana chair that we were doing. Watson is still taking a really good nap. All right, here we go. Feet hip distance apart. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, have a seat down in your chair. Bring the right knee up, out, Malasana. Now, as soon as you reach your max Malasana, I want you to come back up the same way. So come back up, right knee out away from you. Hold, squeezing that left hip underneath you. Then bring it back and find your chair. Left knee up, over and out. Pause in your Malasana. The right hip's going to brace as you come back up. Wrap it up underneath you. Hold, bring it back to chair. We got one more in each direction. Right foot steps out, Malasana. And then left hip wraps up underneath you as you hold. Bring it down, last one. Left foot steps out, find your Malasana. And then wrap that right hip underneath you as you hold. Last chair, big inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, your vinyasa, or just step back into down dog with me. Relaxing the chin to the chest, making sure the shoulder blades are neutral. They shouldn't be pushed into your ears, but they also shouldn't be locked down your back. All right, inhale, right toes up. This time we're going to kick the foot all the way to the left, straight leg. And as you push the footprint over to the left, I want you to turn and look to your right, which is going to be an outer hip stretch this time. Take a big breath here. And then slowly lift the right toes back up into the sky. We're going to kick it all the way through top of the mat. Now keep your back heel lifted. Rise up, crescent pose. We're going to stack the shoulders on top of the hips here. Shoulder blades melting down the back. Take a big breath. Now get low in the hips. Feel it there. We're going to take a big spiral to the right. And as you spiral to the right, you're definitely going to feel those outer hips. All right, take a big breath. Now as I reach back up towards the sky, I'm going to bring the left knee up into the chest. And I'm going to spiral to the left. All right, slowly set it back down. Slow motion here. Sink down to the hips. Spiral to the right. Bring it back up. Bring the left knee in. Spiral to the left. Okay, we're going to slow motion it back down to crescent. We got one more set. Drop the hips. Spiral to the right. Then utilizing that outer hip, wrap that right hip underneath you as you find your stability and spiral to the left. All right, bring it all the way back down. Big inhale here. Exhale, we have an option of dancing Shiva. So as you bring the left knee up into the chest this time, maybe that right hand grabs the thigh bone as you spiral. Maybe the hand moves down towards the pinky toe side of the foot. Up to you. Take a big breath. All right, slow motion that foot all the way back, down. Good work. All right, slide back into down dog. Let's do the same thing on the second side. Inhale, left toes up in the sky. Exhale, kick the foot all the way over to the right. Now push your footprint far across the body and then look in the opposite direction. So you're kind of squeezing your midsection out like a sponge, wringing it out. Take a big breath. And then bring the left toes back up into the sky. Exhale, kick it on through. Push through your heels a lot as you rise up. And as soon as you find the stack of the shoulders on top of the hips, as soon as you shore up that belly to protect the low back, then you can sink down. Take a big inhale. Exhale, spiral to the left. All right, brace the hips as you bring that right knee up and spiral to the right. Okay, we got a total of 3 rounds here. Absolutely take your own pace. Slow it down. I recommend gazing at the blocks the whole time so you have that stability of your gaze supporting the stability of your body. And then we're going to pause after this one so we can regroup in crescent. Big inhale here. All right, we got dancing Shiva. Bring that right knee up. As you spiral, you can grab the thigh bone, you can grab the foot, or you can push to extend for dancing Shiva. Take a big breath here, wrapping that left hip underneath you. And then slowly release, hands down, toes down, lengthen out, down dog. All right, we are going to pause in pigeon pose. So the right knee is going to come towards the nose, drop the shin across the mat, drop that back knee, and then you'll wiggle it on back, stretching through that back big toe. Nice straight line from sitting bone to big toe. And then as we come down, we're going to have that relatively level low back. Now you can absolutely take a block underneath the right hip, especially if you feel uneven or if this is intense. And then as you relax the chin to the chest, take a couple breaths here, filling up the belly, the ribs, and the chest, making sure that you have the same kind of breath work that we did at the very beginning of class. Hello, someone woke up from their nap. Oh, you're going to stretch with me? Okay. Good boy. Oh, okay. All right, so take one more big cycle here, stretching out that outer right hip. And then we're going to start strengthening the left side. All right. So as I rise up to the palms, I'm going to go ahead and drop this right hip and then bend this left knee up until it looks like I'm sitting for my senior pictures. Okay. So the idea is that we're going to be strengthening this ring or strap or band around the hip. So imagine where the thigh bone kind of connects into the body. Okay. So in order to do this, I want to make sure that I stay as upright as possible and not leaning to the side. So shoring up my core, sitting upright, I'm going to see if I can hover my left leg up off the floor, bring it around, and then tap the middle of my mat. Now, if that felt really easy, you might have been leaning to the side to compensate. So really think about being as upright as possible. Shore up the core. I'm going to lift and then bring that leg all the way around. And then I'm going to lift and bring that leg all the way back. Okay? So as I do this, I'm trying to get as high as I can up off the floor and maintain that height through that whole arc of motion. So it should kind of feel resisted, difficult, almost like my leg is being drawn through quicksand, really thick substance here. Okay, I got one more forward, one more back, and then I'm going to plant the foot. All right, coming up into tree. I'm going to roll into my right shin, press into my left foot, wrap my left hip underneath me, and just like I did in that chair position, I'm going to take my knee out. I can choose to stay here, or I can bring that footprint onto the space below my knee or the space above my knee. I'm going to press into my right heel, fire back with my left hip, and then squeeze like a tube of toothpaste up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath here. Then keeping that support of my left hip, I'm going to bring the right knee forward, slowly kick it all the way back as if I'm going through Warrior 3, hands down, left toes in the sky. Bring the knee in and across, find your shin, drop the back knee, wiggle it all on back. And then this side should feel really, really nice because we just worked that area. So now this stretch should feel quite pleasant. We want a straight line from sitting bone to big toe. Okay, good job. Yep, up dog, down dog, you got it. And there's Shavasana. All right, hi buddy. Couple more big breaths here, maintaining that nice level low back. You can always place your hand there and feel it. If it feels like one cheek is off to the side, it probably is. So definitely use those blocks for support if you need to. We want to keep the low back level rather than being asymmetrical through that SI joint. I think you're going to have to move pretty soon, dude. Oh, okay. Yep. You're the goofiest. Okay. One more big breath here. Okay. This is sea otter pose. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I remove any blocks that I'm using. Drop that left hip and bring the right leg to bend. So again, sitting in that knee bend position or stag position. Okay. All right, keeping myself as upright as possible. I'm going to lift that right knee, bring it all the way over, tap, lift it all the way back up, and then bring it back. So I kind of want this idea of bringing that right knee up towards my right armpit and then maintaining that as I come all the way back around. Right knee to right armpit, all the way back around. A couple more times. So I'm really feeling the heat in that band, that circumference around the top of my thigh, that hip joint area. Okay? You're a good boy, yeah. Okay? Got one more. And then we got tree pose, all right? So feel free to use your blocks to help you if you need to. You're going to roll into your left shin, press through your right heel, raise that right hip underneath us, bring the knee up and out, choose to stay, or find your kind of medium tree pose, or bringing it up above the knee. I'm pushing through my left heel. If I push through my left toes, the tendency is to slide down the leg. So really punch through that left heel, fire back with just as much force in the outer right hip, and then squeeze everything up energetically through the fingertips. Take a big breath here. All right, release the knee forward. We're going to slowly step back. Oh, good grief. And then from here, I'm going to slide back into the very best down dog that I can, knowing that there's now a corgi in the way. You ding dong. All right, we got one last flow. Fingers crossed we can do this. All right, here we go. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, bend the knees, step forward or hop forward, maybe over an obstacle. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, forward, fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, so we're coming into our very last chair sequence, and I want you to pay attention to it because we're going to utilize it in our last crescent flow, okay? So come down into your chair. We're going to bring the right knee up and out, but this time I want you to karate kick the back of your mat, and then as soon as you do, bring it right back up underneath you, find your chair. The left knee is going to go up, out, kind of slow motion, hi-ya, kick behind you, and then bring it back to chair. One more in each direction. Right knee up. So this is kind of like we just did in pigeon, those big roundhouse kick movements, but we're putting them into chair. Left knee up, out, around, and then final chair. You're done. Forward fold. Oh, good. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, step it on back into your down dog. This is our final set right here. Inhale, right toes up. Exhale, knee to nose, pause. Same kind of roundhouse kick. Go out, around, straight leg. Knee to nose. Out, around, straight leg. Bring it in. Last one. In, around. Good. Now kick it all the way through. Punch through your back heel. Inhale, rise up. We got 3 of these. Here's our flow. Warrior 3. Bend, push, lift. Nice level low back. Lengthen. Hands to heart center. Knee scoops up to the front of your mat. Okay, bracing through your outer right hip. Take your left knee through its entirety of your range of motion so that you land right back in Warrior 3, taking that right hip up underneath you. Once you have Warrior 3, drop the toes. Inhale, rise up, crescent, round 2. Exhale, bend, push, lift, level low back. Hands to heart center, knee scoops up. Use the core muscles that we've already practiced. Knee goes up, out, challenging that range of motion, getting as much as you can out of it before you hi-ya, kick right back into that nice level low back. Drop the toes. Last one. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bend, push, lift. Nice tabletop flat surface here from hands to shoulders to hips to heel. Hands to heart center, knee comes up. Brace and suck that right up underneath you. Big motion here all the way around. Best one yet. And then kick it back. Pause in your Warrior 3 before you have the hands come down, the toes come down, and you find your down dog. Let's finish this up on the second side. Inhale, left toes up. Exhale, kick it all the way through. Punch through your heels. Rise up. Firm up that core. We're going to need it. Ready? Big inhale. Exhale, bend, push, lift. Ears to biceps here. Hands to heart center. Knee scoops up. Brace that outer left hip. Go up, out, around. Now punch that footprint into the back wall. Once you find your Warrior 3, drop your toes. Inhale up. 2 more at your own pace. Bend, push, lift. Whenever you're ready, the knee scoops up using the core. Then all those stabilizer muscles are going to go out, around, back. Pause. Gently drop it down. Last one. Here we go. Inhale up. Exhale, bend, push, lift. Hands to heart center. Knee comes up. We go up, around, back, lengthen, and done. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to the floor. All right, slide back into your last down dog. Lengthen it out, and then drop the knees. All right, hopefully feeling pretty different in the hips. Go ahead and grab your foam roller. And then I'm going to show you 2 moves here. We're going to be, since we've been doing inner and outer hips, I'm going to show you both an inner and outer hip here. So we're going to start with the inner. This is going to be for that area along the adductors, along that inseam of the pants. So if you don't have a foam roller, that's okay. You're just going to stay in a stretching version of this. It's going to be the exact same position, just without the foam roller. All right. So I'm going to come onto my belly. I'm going to have the foam roller off to my side. Watson, you look like a foam roller. All right. And then I want to place my right inner thigh on top of the foam roller as soon as someone moves. That's you. You got to move. Thanks. Okay, Oh, you're the worst. All right. Let's see if we can do this with a corgi in the way. All right, here we go. So if you're doing the stretching version, you don't have to stay up on the forearms. You can come down to the head. So what I want to do is flip this guy. I want an angle. There we go. I want an angle that's going to ride up and down that inseam of the pants, okay? So I'm going to let my foot flop against the floor. I'm going to slowly move my knee out and then back in, okay? So I'm pushing my knee out away from me and then rolling it back in. What's important here is that my foot is relaxed and then I'm as heavy as possible, okay? Now you're not going to get the whole way up the adductors in this first time because you just got a little bit of movement. So we'll be physically moving. Now, if you find something really good, and by good I mean like kind of deep tissue massage intense, pause and relax and breathe on it. Or if you want to scrub it, you can lift that foot a little bit, which is really going to bring some intensity to it. So only do it if it feels productive. We never want to be painful here. Okay, and then I'm ready to move on to the next spot, so I'm going to just physically move the foam roller up a little bit, and then I'll do the same thing. So I just want to kind of get the next section, which is the middle. And then historically speaking, in terms of all the clients that I've worked with, this usually tends to be the most intense. So take your time, relax. If it's too much, just pad it up. You want to place like a hand towel or something between the foam roller and your legs. Okay? If you find something really good, pause, breathe, relax, or you can maybe add in a little bit of that rotation. Basically, the pinky toe lifts up towards the ceiling. Okay, we just have a little bit of time here left before we switch to the other side, so I'm going to move it in as close as possible. I'm just going to keep kind of rolling over and just taking it all the way up. I just want to be careful here because it really is quite easy to engage the muscles that we're trying to relax into in this position because you kind of want to push down. And as we discovered through class, that motion, that leg going that way is engaging those muscles. We really want to get soft and relaxed here. Okay, a few more seconds to find anything worth exploring. All right, I'm going to bring the elbows back up underneath me so that I can lift back up and switch to the opposite side. Okay, so I'm on the belly. My left knee is bent, and I have the foam roller perpendicular to my thigh bone. If you're a math person, I guess, if that makes sense to you. Basically, your thigh bone and your foam roller are making a T. Okay? Then with my left foot floppy on the floor, I want to start investigating that first few inches up the leg, and then just be aware that the tendency is to kind of push down and contract those muscles, and then you're not able to let the foam roller do its job. So just let gravity take over. If you find something good, like I just did right there, I'm probably going to pause and hang out for a moment. Maybe if I feel, I think that's too much. If I lift my foot, that kind of spikes me into like a 9 out of 10 rather than a more 7 is where we kind of want. Okay. If I sit here and breathe and relax, it goes down, and then maybe I want to try the movement. Yeah, that's not so bad. So lots of tools in your toolbox here to use, movements, stillness, different options to work with the tissues. So take your time getting what you need. I'm going to go ahead and move mine up a little bit. I'm going to keep track of time for you. Just have a few more moments here before I move to the very last spot, and then I'll show you the outer hip release. So if you are just stretching, great. You're just going to be on the belly, just releasing each exhale as a reminder to get softer and softer through that inner thigh area. Okay, last like 30 seconds. So I'm going to go up into the, way up into the edge where the thigh bone meets the body. And definitely that midsection is the most intense. The other ones are not too bad today. All right, last couple breaths. Remember, your exhales are a reminder to relax and to melt into it. All right, again, I'm going to bring it up to my forearms, bring myself on up. All right, now I'm going to take the foam roller across my mat and get my outer hips, okay? So I'm actually going to sit my sitting bones on the foam roller itself, And I'm going to work that outer hip area. All right, my hands become kickstands. I'm going to cross my right ankle on top of my left knee. So guys, cross the leg. I can always put my foot further out if I need a little bit less. Okay, so just kind of know that that will matter. Okay, all right, from here, I'm going to slowly lean over to my right. And at some point, you might not even need the left hand. It's up to you. And I'm going to slowly roll using my right hand to press along that right side. And I'm going to kind of feel myself thunk over that outer hip area, maybe even a little bit of the sitting bone right there. So one motion is definitely just this rolling up and down your mat, but another one is rocking. So I can rock back and forth across my mat, and you can definitely put the two together. So if you're rolling and then you find the most intense spot for you, like right there, then I can rock on that spot. Okay, so you can combine the rolling and the rocking and then find out what's best for you. And just be curious about the tissues in that area. When you find something good, just hold on to it. It's kind of like you're ironing a wrinkled shirt. When that iron finds a wrinkle, you just want to kind of hold the iron there for a moment, let it get the wrinkle out before you keep moving and search for the next wrinkle. Okay, just a few more seconds here, keeping that breath. Watson, I really do have an obscene amount of hair from you on me. It's ridiculous. Okay, bring it on back. And we'll switch it out. So if you don't have the foam roller, you're just holding that 4 stance stretch. Okay, I'm going to take the left ankle on top. I might start with 2 kickstands, but as I roll over towards my left side to put more weight on it, I can always come up off my right hand if I want to, or if I need both hands, great, use it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the rolling part, just to kind of roll along and see what this side is going to give me. There are quite a few times where one side is grumpier than the other, so just take each side as a new experience and know that it could be quite different, but it is your body's way of telling you something. You know, if one side is wildly different than the other, that side definitely needs some attention. We don't want that asymmetry to end up causing an injury or pain. So after I've rolled, maybe I find the most intense spot along the roll and I try the rock. Or maybe just stillness. I'm going to find that spot and I'm like, oh, okay, this is good stuff. I'm just going to hang out here, breathe, and relax. Remember that you can use your right foot to go out or in, depending on how much intensity you want. And at the end of the day, this is all therapeutic. It's good, nice pressure. Nothing should be, making you want to say a 4-letter word or making you want to tap out. And just a few more cycles of breath here, getting the outer and inner hips all released. Should be feeling so good. All right, I'm going to go and come up off of that. I'm going to get my foam roller and my blocks out of the way so they're not going to mess with my Shavasana. And then we're just going to do a little check-in here to see how the hips feel now after all of the strengthening, stretching, and releasing. So go ahead and lay on back and relax. Be here for just a moment. Nice long legs, nice long arms. And then for just a second, come into that same position that we started class, okay? Feet together, knees out wide. I find that diamond shape. Take just 3 cycles of breath down and notice the right leg versus the left. Are there sensations there that were at the beginning of class but are there now? Are the thigh bones heavier? Is there less intensity in the stretch? Something feel better, more easeful? Maybe even in the low backs. All right, then go ahead and lengthen out the legs, close down the eyes. And again, one more time, just scan the body. Notice what feels different. Maybe what feels better. Legs feel longer, spine feels more relaxed, maybe more spacious. Maybe hips and glutes feel softer, more relaxed. Maybe there was pain that's not there now. And continue to breathe up and down the body for just a few moments, and I want you to keep track of all the different sensations, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're about the hips or something entirely. Just keep moving down that list. We're trying to get the brain to take inventory of the body head to toe, creating a new blueprint of that back line of the body. We want the brain to latch onto that blueprint, recognizing that this is the kind of back line that we want all the time, rather than one that might have tension or stress in it. And take just a few more cycles of breath. Again, just kind of taking in information, monitoring head to toe, bring that awareness. And with that last big cycle of breath, go ahead and make fingers and toes movements. And then we'll reach the hands up overhead for a full body stretch. We'll bring the knees into the chest, give yourself a big squeeze again, maybe noticing differences in the hips. And then we'll slowly work our way up to a seated position. Thank you so very much for joining me in this time of working on the balance of the body between strength and length, and working on that very best version of you inside and out. It was my honor to lead you through class. Namaste. Apparently Watson said namaste as well.